Go.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this week's edition of the BALListic Report. We got some hot breaking news not too long ago coming out of a very familiar place, Draymond Green's mouth, talking about some of these trade rumors, particularly Andre Drummond, and he kind of took the league by storm. But man, what are your initial thoughts on this Andre Drummond situation and what Draymond Green had to say, as well as LeBron James, who backed him?
Man. So basically, he was pretty much saying that teams get a pass for basically benching players when they that they want to trade, and really, man, you can look at this two different ways, man. And like, I'm trying not to be biased, towards the players, but just looking at Andre Drummond's situation, he's been averaging a double, man, basically since he's been in the league. So he's been productive and he's a high value player, but unfortunately he's been with teams who hasn't been successful in the playoffs. So far, his record in the playoffs is 0-8. So, so he's producing, but he's not with good teams.
Yeah.
Man, so like in this situation, I feel like the ownership is trying to prevent an injury so he can still be the high value player, because if they're still trying to trade him, but they're like, all right, Andre Drummond, continue to play. And let's say that he tears ACL. At that point, he's untradeable.
Yeah.
Man, and then also, I know they're trying to trade him because they just traded for Jared Allen. So they already have a younger player who's basically about the same type of player too, man. So really, if you think about it, they're kind of building for the future. So in this instance, I wouldn't even be mad if I'm Draymond. I mean, if I'm Andre Drummond, man, because I'm thinking to myself, all right, I might get traded to a contender. So it's kind of like, man, let me just sit back, relax, and just wait till the trade deadline gets close, because by the time I should be gone. And then another thing you got to throw in the fact that as he's sitting down, he's still getting paid millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's getting paid to sit down, relax, recover your body, and get ready. So that's how I kind of see it, man. But then again, I think about somebody like Blake Griffin, man, because they're thinking about trading Blake Griffin with the Detroit Pistons, man. And man, that ever since he got traded from the Clippers to the Pistons, I mean, his value has gone down. He's been constantly in and out of rotation because he's been hurt. So someone like him, if I'm Blake Griffin, I'm smiling. I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm thinking to myself that, hey, are they about to send me to a team that may be a contender? Although I'm not even being productive, man, but the fact is his contract is so crazy. Man, he's due almost $80 million, man, between this year and next year. And the thing about the next year, it's a player option. So that means that you can average 5-10 points a game, and it's on you whether you want to take on that $40 million contract. Now, Corey, I don't know about you, but if I'm playing 25 minutes a game, averaging 10 points and 3 rebounds, and you give me the option to pay myself $40 million, I'm saying, yeah. I'm taking that money, So in this instance, they already know Blake Griffin probably be like, hey, regardless if I play or not, man, I'm taking this player option because I'm getting paid like this. And if you think about it, this may be his last big contract, just the way he's been playing over the past 2 to 3 years. So in this instance, if I'm Blake Griffin, man, I'll let the ownership do their thing, because it's like, man, I don't want to risk getting hurt because I've already been injured prone throughout my whole career. Man, so from these two perspectives, I get Draymond Green point, but from these two situations, it benefits the players more does the team. I think just because that the players will be in a better situation. Now before I give it to you, just looking at 3 other players previously, obviously James Harden, the way he went about it, he was berated, he was talked down upon about him being, basically like a disruption for the team because he wanted to go, but it's like, hey, he let the ownership know that, hey, I want out, figure out a way to get him out of here. And the thing is that he said he gave it his all to Houston. Now, I don't know if he did, Corey. I don't know if you think that he did, but that's what he said. Man. So my thing is, if I'm ownership and if I hear that from him, I'm like, all right, cool. Look, you say you want to go, let's find somewhere for you to go. and hopefully out that process, I can get the same money, I can get the same value back. You know, so that caused a little tension, and it caused a lot of players, it caused a lot of fans to start burning his jersey, you know, like always, same way they did with LeBron,
Right.
even though he was a free agent, you know, but just the fact that he left, you know, and they thought he was going to be the guy to stay there. He left, and what the fans do. You know, that's another aspect too, dealing with the fans and what they think you're going to do. But when it comes to the ownership and their moves, you know, it kind of seems like fans don't say too much about it when it comes to the ownership doing it. But when
Yeah.
the player does it himself, national fans like, hold up, you supposed to stay. You think about Anthony Davis. He was fine because he didn't want to play because he wanted to get traded. You know, before he went to LA, they fined him because he would not play. But in his instance, he's like, listen, I told y'all I want to go. I ain't playing no more until y'all
Right.
trade me. You know, so he stood up for himself, and that's what happened. And then the last one I want to bring out, man, which is kind of sad. Harrison Barnes, man, when he was playing for the Mavericks, man, and they had to sit him down for the rest of the second half, and his face and his expression on the bench was just like, I can't believe they did this to me. You know, so I think, man, so I think more than anything, it can be, it can go either way, but depending on your value as a player, then it can work in your favor. What do you think?
Yeah. So this is, there's a couple of things that come to mind. The first thing that comes to mind when looking at everything is right right place, wrong time. Like, I think Draymond and then LeBron backing him up, they were in the right place. Like, they had the right heart, right words, but it was the wrong time. Like, for all the reasons that you spilled out about Cleveland. Number one, Cleveland, they're not very good. They're not contenders. They're essentially irrelevant in the league now that they've lost LeBron, Kyrie. Kevin Love is basically not a factor now. So, but and Andre Drummond has not been one of those highlight players. I mean, you know, he's made the All-Star team. You know, he's led the league in rebounding. You know, and things like that. He's been all NBA. But I mean, it's like he hasn't been one of those franchise shifting players. You know, that's the reason he keeps getting traded. So I don't think he was the best person for the context of what was said. And I don't even think that Cleveland is wrong for wanting to trade him, especially if they're going to a younger position, if they're trying to restructure some contracts, even, you know, the situation with Blake Griffin, as you talked about. I don't think, you know, either of those scenarios is wrong. But what at what point do we level things out? You know what I'm saying? Like, at what point is, you know, and I know we've heard some people talk about on, you know, different type of sports networks that they had time to, or they had the opportunities to, talking about the players, to shift things in the collective bargaining agreement. And I understand that. But here's the thing that I think a lot of people are not looking at. Maybe they did bargain for that, and the franchise, you know, owners weren't moving. So maybe at some point they say, you know what, okay, this is just one of those things we're going to have to leave off the list. You know, we don't agree with it, but we can't get them to move. So are we just going to throw the entire bargain away? Or are we just going to take what they give us and keep trying to work toward it? But now on to what Draymond said. Okay, I agree with it 100%. Because I think another thing that comes to mind is this is a prime example of covenant versus contract. Okay. For those of you that are not familiar with ET, he has this whole video on covenant versus contract. And basically what he breaks down is that there's a difference. The contract is simply a piece of paper. Okay. We're going to follow by these rules because this is what the paper says. That's the contract side of it. But then there's the covenant side of this that says, I'm going to do what is right, regardless of what's on that piece of paper. But I think this has to go both ways because, okay, player comes out, you take James Harden. He's the hot take right now, okay? Yeah. So James Harden comes out and he says that he wants a trade. I don't think anybody really sees anything wrong with that. Or I don't think anybody should see anything wrong with that. But the issue was taken in the way that they handled it. And I think in the way that he handled it, that's where the issue comes in. Okay, cool. You don't want to be in Houston. You let us know and you can move on. You know, even though you have this contract, the contract works both ways. The contract can only be upheld if the covenant side is upheld. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So here's the thing where I think it becomes a bit of a split. Okay, On one side, you can say, hey, James Harden, hey, said player, we understand that you want out, but continue to play at your maximum. Okay. Well, what happens if player continues to play at maximum and they say, well, you're still an asset to us, so we're not moving you. Okay. So now you're at a bit of a dilemma. Okay. Do I continue to play at a really high level and sabotage myself because I have to stay here? Or do I have to make the next best business decision? Okay. So, and then on the flip side, I want the player to play at peak performance every single night, regardless if he wants him to be there or not. Yeah. But then the team can say, you know what? We understand we have this contract with you, but we want better. And you have some situations, like if we can potentially flip over to football, the Tom Brady, they no longer wanted him there. Yeah. So they purposely, I think it was obvious, they purposely left him bereft of weapons. Say, you know, we're not giving you anything and we're going to bite the bullet and let you walk. So I think there's sometimes you think about, you know, the New York Knicks, like what have they done? Like they haven't been relevant in years. And there doesn't seem to be any type of effort going forward to really build a team, to put the money, to put the resources forward to make these teams. So at what point do the franchise owners and the franchise players come at an agreement outside of the CBA? Because the CBA is obviously not doing anything. You know what I'm saying? Because you're still having these players get traded on the bench. But what happens if when Kyrie, you know, and we all got mad at him, Derrick Rose, something happens in their personal life or whatever the case may be, mental health is not there, they can up and dip. And what happens? They're getting fined. They're getting crucified in the media. But the second we come to an agreement as a franchise, oh, you up out of here. And you have nothing to say about it. So I think that there has to be this understanding of, on the franchise side, if I'm going to do what I'm going to do, the player's going to do what he's going to do. So everybody just do what's in your best interest. Basically, that's the cure-all for the player. But on the media and fan side of this, I think we have to get to a point to where we got to put ourselves in their shoes on both sides. I'll say this and I'll turn it back over to you just in case you have to say something. We went crazy on Kevin Durant. I was one of them. Not because he wanted out of OKC, but because he went to Golden State, an offensive juggernaut, a super team that was already in position to win, you know, dynastically. And then he, as one of the greatest players in the NBA, goes to the best team. We crucified him. But how many of us, here's what I want our fans to think, and like I said, I'll turn it back over to you. How many of us, when we have jobs, when we have situations, things are not going the best on our job, and we go look for a better opportunity, okay? So let's say you're a real estate broker. You're doing really, really good in your real estate brokerage. And you know what? Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway hits you up like, yo, we got a position for you. Yo, they're a real estate juggernaut. You picking up that call and going? You better believe you are. You better believe you are. So I want people to think about that. And I had to think about this myself. If I was in Kevin Durant's shoes and the Warriors wanted me, I probably would have went to.
Man, listen, man. So you say you would go to the best team that already was stacked and won a championship?
Look, it depends. It depends because here's the thing. I don't agree with it from a fan's perspective. Okay. But you got to think, Kevin Durant was, you know, he's in his 30s now, and he didn't know when he left OKC and went to Golden State, he was going to tear his Achilles, a thing that ruins careers. So imagine he tears his Achilles in OKC and doesn't come back okay. He never wins a championship. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like,
and you know, and this is something else I'm about to throw in too, man, which can take this a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
What does loyalty mean in the NBA anymore, or in any sport? What does loyalty mean, man? Because what, you know, man, because basically, hey, man, basically what you're saying is that, hey, I love the game of basketball. I'm good at it. But at the same time, I want to get that championship by any means necessary. So that means that if this market, you know, which in this case is only, let's say maybe 5 to 6 teams that are very, very marketable in the NBA that players want to go to. Other than that, it's like, hey, if you get to a good area and if you're playing very well at a superstar level, those owners and GMs, they want to play because hey, that's how we bringing in money to the organization and to the city because they give the city something to go to. We look at Damian Lillard. He signed a supermax, right? He signed a supermax. All right.
Mhm.
If not, he be planning on doing it. I know he signed some type of extension.
Yeah.
Man, we look at Giannis. Man, just think about if Giannis would have went to Golden State. Like, come on, man. Like, it would have took away from it. But like, I get your point, man. But when it comes to loyalty too, like that's what kind of makes the NBA because you have players who are like, hey, I don't care who on my team, we're gonna ride it out and we just gonna grind it out each season. In a prime example is that me is Damian Lillard, also Russell Westbrook, but they had to trade Russell Westbrook because he got to the point where like, hey, we gotta let you go. We gotta let you
Yeah.
go. It's time to rebuild. But I'm gonna put it like this: like loyalty counts, but it's basically on a contract too as well. Because if you're playing well, they're gonna stick with you. And if you're providing success to the team, they're gonna stick with you. But at some point, as saying like Russell Westbrook, hey, man, the city loved Russell Westbrook, man, but they knew that for them to win long term, they had to let him go.
Yeah.
So me personally, man, if I was in Kevin Durant's shoes, I don't know if I would have went to the Warriors, man. I might have, man, but I get your point just saying that, hey, each year you're getting older, man. And it's crazy to think that Kevin Durant is in his 30s now. You know, like he's in his 30s,
Yeah.
Steph Curry is 30s. It's like the league is getting older, and we're getting older too, obviously, but it's it's just crazy
Yeah.
just to show like how fast the NBA is moving and it's growing too. But man, so what do you think about the loyalty as a player? Like, all right, man. So does that matter more than the contract and you winning, or what?
Okay, so that's why before I turn it back over to you, I gave two insights. From the player's perspective, I said do what makes you happy. From a fan's perspective, we have to be able to, before we judge, be able to put ourselves in that player's shoes based upon their best personal decision. Okay, prime example, Damian Lillard, he's a baller.
Yeah,
He's a stud, all out. He don't really care about, to him, a championship is cool, but at the end of the day, it's a piece of metal. You know
true.
what I'm saying? Because his legacy is going to live on forever.
True.
He's going to probably go down as one of the greatest. He will go down as one of the greatest players in Portland basketball, let alone NBA history,
True.
period.
Mhm.
So to him, let me take the money, take care of my family.
Yeah.
I'm going to ball out. I'm going to leave a legacy. They're going to remember me for years to come. But for people like Kevin Durant, for people like LeBron James, who are chasing GOAT status, and the only way they're going to be able to catch MJ is by winning chips. I don't care what people say about LeBron's stat pattern, longevity, achievement, whatever the case may be. He's getting closer and closer to that GOAT status
Yeah,
because he keeps playing. I don't think we should criticize him for being able to play. If you can still play, keep playing. You know what I'm saying? So like, it depends on who you are as a player. Kevin Durant needed those two championships to stay relevant in the greatest in the NBA conversation. Because when he went to Golden State, like at what point, where did he, okay, here's the thing. Kevin Durant, we talk about loyalty. When you go to OKC, whose team was that? That was Russ's team. Kevin Durant was the better player,
yeah. Okay,
but that was Russ's
I give you
team.
that. Okay.
When he got to Golden State, whose team was that?
It had to be Kevin Durant,
Steph Curry. Kevin Durant was the best player.
but he
That was
was the
Steph
league.
Curry's
Yeah,
team.
okay.
So at what point that loyalty really only sets in when it's your people? And I don't think he's going to have that anywhere, especially now that he's joined another juggernaut. So at what point do we respect you, bro? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, and I turn it back over. I know your wheels are turning.
No,
You on the blacktop, right?
Yeah.
And you got 10 people on the black court. Only 9 of y'all can ball. But the one kid who sucks, he's the only one with a basketball. So he always gets to be a captain.
Yeah.
Okay? So he's going to pick the best players that are available each time. nobody's really respecting him, bro. You just got the basketball. And at any moment we get the basketball, you're off the court. You see what I'm saying? So it's just like the loyalty only lies with the guy that has the basketball because he has the basketball. So
Hey, I think, hey, man, I think you're trying to throw some shots at Russell Westbrook on the slick, man. When you talk about the guy who sucks, bro, always had the ball in his hand.
no, here's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is he only had to have loyalty to Russ because his legacy depended on Russ passing him the ball.
Yeah.
And when he got to Golden State, he had to depend on all those other guys because, bro, we was smooth without you. like Draymond said, bro. You know what I'm saying? We was cool before you got here. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's what I'm saying about loyalty. And now it's going to be the same situation in Brooklyn.
You know, and also like with Kevin Durant, you know, I feel like he's more fulfilled as a player because he has those rings. You know, I think now, you know, as you can see, he's playing like with all his best friends now. DeAndre Jordan, real cool with Kyrie Irving. So I mean, man, so really at this point, he still wants to win. He still wants the championship, man. But now I think he's playing more relaxed, man, because you know that, hey, you know, basically as an NBA player, you know, you got the MVP award, you won championship, and then also you won the championship MVP. So I mean, you basically did everything you needed to do as a player, you know. So he's more relaxed. Right. You know, now with this James Harden trade, you know, I feel like more pressure is on him now because it's like, hey, are you the only superstar out of the three who doesn't have a ring? You know, Kyrie got his because of LeBron. Yeah. Hey, look, hey, and I say because of LeBron because it was because of him.
It really was.
You know, just like, hey, like you the only one that's left. You know, so it kind of seemed like now, you know, they're trying to help him out, man, help him get that ring. But you know, man, but just going back to the James Harden trade. So, what is the best way, you know, as a player, to demand a trade without being a disruption to a team, man? Because it kind of seemed like if he didn't do what he did, he would have still been in the uniform. So what other way can you go about it without even being a disruption or a distraction to the team?
I mean, sit out. You almost have to sit out. I mean, there's no really other way around it because if y'all not going to, because here's the thing, it really falls back on management and ownership. If I come to you and I tell you I want out, and that's not enough for you to move me, that's fine. But your mind is made up. I'm not moving you. Yeah. So the only way I'm going to get you to change your mind is I got to force your hand. So I don't know. The only way I can think of is they have to either change the CBA, which is probably not happening, or they have to get the ownership to level with them and say, look, bro, if I was in your shoes, you want to do the same thing. I don't know if I can think of anything else. I mean, what about you? Like,
you know, like honestly, I think Anthony Davis, man, went about it the right way. You know, he just didn't dress, you know, and you know, obviously he got fined, you know, like $100,000. But I mean, to him, that's chump change, man. Like with all the contracts he has, like with other endorsements, and then plus his contract with the team. So you know, that money's kind of like chump change to him. So I think. But that's the thing, you know, man, because as a fan, you're gonna be mad. You as a fan of the Rockets, you know, I would be mad thinking that, man, come on, James Harden, you know, you signed this contract with us, just go ahead and stay to the end, go and grind it out with us. And the same thing with the Pelicans, like Anthony Davis, come on, man, like we need you here as a pillar. But you know, man, kind of as we talked about, man, like the older you get in the league, man, at some point, like what are you trying to get to? You know, like you were saying, like, so are you chasing just their loyalty or that statue in front of that arena saying that, hey, you know, like Damian Lillard, man, I stayed here my whole career and I gave it my all, you know, and you can truly say that, like someone like that, which I think he would do that, you know, or it's more like, man, listen, I love the game of basketball. I want to win, but obviously I want to win too, but it's still so many factors to it. It's crazy, man. So you can't really be mad at the player, you know. So that's why it's kind of good, man. Look at it both ways. So you just kind of It's kind of just kind of be unbiased about it. But man, but with the NBA, they give the most leverage to players. If you think about it, man, you look at the
Absolutely.
NFL, man, the NFL players, man, like you already getting less paid than NBA players, just because of it's more players in the NFL, of course, but it's just the fact that like like compared to the NBA, compared to the NFL, like you're giving like more pool as a player, so that's something to be grateful for as a whole, man. Because just think about if some of these players, man, were in the NFL trying to complain and stuff like that, dude. It's not enough, man. Dude, it's not enough players, bro, to
Right.
do that in the NFL. Because all they're gonna do is replace you and just try to find the next man up. When it comes to NBA, you have a little bit more leeway. So I think obviously, as a player, I mean, you got to be grateful for the job you have because I don't want to use the term "shut up and dribble." I'm not trying to call no trouble by
Yeah,
saying,
you read my mind.
but it's like you have one of the best jobs in the world, and you getting paid, shoot more than man, let's say like 90% of the world, to be playing basketball, to be playing football. Man, you know how many people wish they was in your shoes getting paid millions of dollars to
Yeah.
to shoot a ball in the basket, and it's definitely said it's easy said and done. Because I know if I was out there on the field, I would I would get injured on the first snap. I'm gonna say that now. I'm gonna say that now. But it's just that, like at some point, I know you want to win as a player, but at some point, when do you be grateful of you even being in this position as a player? And that's something too that some players maybe just need to think a little bit more about. But it's like, hey, it's at some point, man. Listen, you have one of the best jobs in the world, playing basketball or football. Like at some point, like like what do you say? You know?
Yeah. I mean, at the same time, man, and I know you kind of addressed it. It's easier said than done. And here's the reason I said us fans have to put ourselves in the position of the players, because I think we all do it. We all, hey man, look, man, you're making, LeBron is about to surpass $1 billion in the NBA. Like, man, come on, you still complaining?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I think we can become hypocritical when we do that, because again, I go back to this thing because I got to bring it back home for us as fans. How many of us on the job, let's say you're a supervisor, you're making more money than the coworkers up under you. So then the assistant manager position comes open, and you like, man, I really want that AGM situation. How many of the employees are going to be like, hey, man, you already got the supervisor position. You make it more than me. Why you need that AGM? Because it's not about the money.
Yeah.
The only thing that makes humans happy is progress. And so when I've been sitting at this lull for a long time, I'm not progressing. And if I'm not progressing, I'm not happy. And if these players don't get happy, then you end up with a James Harden situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know, man. It's one of those things that I think we're always going to have to struggle with, because we just, we're never going to get it up until I lace up those sneakers as an NBA player. And I think some of the same criticism can go to the players. If Draymond was in the situation of, the owner of the team that wants to trade Andre Drummond, he probably does the same thing and sits him down and moves him because he realizes he's a commodity. So I don't know, man. You got any closing thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I was surprised Draymond Green even said something, man. Man, because really, I didn't hear anything from Blake Griffin complaining. I didn't hear anything from Andre Drummond playing. Did you?
Nah, that was my original thoughts. I didn't hear that.
Man, but see the way Draymond Green is, which that's his personality, man. He gonna talk about whatever you want to talk about, and he's not afraid to say it, And the thing is, you need players like that because it brings light to different situations. But I just would have thought that it would have been more appropriate for him to say something after one of the players maybe said something, man. But kind of going back, man, what I said in the beginning, these two players, Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin, if it goes as planned, they should be traded to a playoff contender. So honestly,
Yep.
man, if I'm in their shoes, I'm not complaining.
Not at all.
You know, especially Blake Griffin, man, because he getting paid $80 million over the next 2 years. And you know, and I seen his stats. He averaged about 10 or 12 points a game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, and that's this season. It's like, you know, so my thing is, I'm thinking to myself, man, trade me, please trade me to a you know, like that's how I would be looking. So I would gladly sit down and rest myself on Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. You know, but you know, man, but for somebody who's been loyal to the team and constantly trying to and constantly improving, and then they traded, and then get traded. I think that's where the problem he's talking about. I think
Yeah.
it's more towards that.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I don't know, man. I guess we'll kind of see how this thing goes. We'll probably be back with, you know, more talk. I'm pretty sure more deals like this are going to happen. More news, more outbreaks are going to, you know, kind of get out. Especially now that Draymond and LeBron seem to have probably set a trend. So we'll see how this goes. We'll probably be back with you again. I'm getting information about breaking news now about Drummond. So maybe we'll come back on and talk about that. Right. But we always appreciate you all joining with us here on the BALListic Report. Hoping everybody's staying safe during this winter weather. I'm Corey Spivey. This is Taylor Moore. This has been the BALListic Report. Thanks.